Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Witch Watch Season 1, Episode 16. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So the first part of the episode involves, Miharu, getting acquainted to living in the house with everybody. Obviously, he has a little bit of a different kind of being a night owl situation because of the whole being a vampire thing. But when he wakes up, getting a little taste of Morihito and him talking about him he's so delectable, and just the way he's acting about it sounds so sus. But once again, it's just kind of like his reaction to tasting Morihito. Phrasing, right? Last episode kind of showcased it, but at first I was almost wondering, I was like, oh, I wonder is Nico going to get a little jealous by it? But it doesn't, well, not really jealous in that regard, but more so like, hey, I want to help out. Because he doesn't want Khan's energy, because he's like, well, you're a Tengu, and that's just kind of like, hey. But it's like, there's something delectable about a ogre's energy. And so Nico's like, hey, you could taste some of mine. And he's like, no, don't. And she makes him touch her. But the problem is, he doesn't just feed off magical energy, he's feeding off life force. And despite as magically powered as she is as a witch, she still basically has, she's basically still a normal girl for the most part. So she immediately passes out, head slamming the table. And she's like, yeah, I just wanted to help out. She thought this would bring her and Miharu together. But because of the whole drain ability, he's able to feel people's feelings too. And he's like, I feel it, the warmth of friendship, this and that, so innocent, so great. I can feel the love for Morihito from you. And everyone else is like, what? And you could easily tell, if you, during some of the shots, you could clearly see, I was like, he's got headphones in this moment. It's like, oh, just in your typical comedic bit, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just testing out these noise-canceling headphones I have. I didn't hear anything you said. But it's like, yeah, my Miharu's whole shtick being he's too blunt. He just kind of says whatever is on his mind. He kind of has, I guess it almost goes in line with being a vampire, almost traditionally, it's kind of levied that, vampires almost have impulse control issues, so it kind of plays out a little bit in this regard. And so the others specifically Khan kind of chastises him for it later on when Morihito's out shopping and is like, all right, let me give you the lay of the land. And I love that, he's like, oh, because I'm the older senpai here, and Miharu lowers his head. He's like, okay, yeah, you got it. It's like, senpai. And he's like, what? You're not even looking. He's like, well, this feels like one of those situations where someone kind of abuse. I forgot the exact wording, but basically it's like, oh, this is the type of situation where someone will abuse their power. So I'm recording this right now just in case. I was like, Jesus Christ. But basically becomes a conversation about how they handle chores and divide chores up. This is how, this is a part of communal living. And it's like, okay, so how do you break down the chores? And it basically comes down to Khan does the first floor bathroom, Nico does the second floor bathroom, and then also you have Keigo doing the second floor tub, and that's all they do. You're like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, Morihito handles literally everything else, the cooking, the cleaning of the rest of the house and stuff like that. And it's because they've caused mishaps in the past, and so Morihito was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna handle everything. It's so funny because they were bringing up, I think it was Khan that was like, I bet your mom and dad cleaned up behind you, they handled all the stuff. And the irony is, well, you guys are kind of the spoiled brats here because Morihito basically takes care of you. It's like, and they kind of break down a little bit because they're like, you're 100% right, Morihito does so much for us. It's just kind of they do kind of feel bad about putting all this on his shoulders. I even love we also know that they all do their individual laundry, which I think Miharu was like, oh, good thing, Keiko, because I'm sure no one would want to use your do your laundry. So Miharu's like, all right, we'll do something big. We'll surprise Morihito that by the time he comes back, we'll have worked together and we'll make a meal. And by the time he comes back, it's a complete disaster. Stuff is broken. Stuff is on fire. And then basically it was just the domino effect of things going wrong. Miharu cutting his finger, panicking. He accidentally drains Keigo, but he passes out because he basically has a life force of a regular human while he's Keigo and not Wolf. but then like it caused Nico to like put something in the food and caused the fire. Khan tried to put the fire out with his wind, and that just spread it, and it's just a whole mishap. And Miharu kind of ended up getting burned in the process, and now he's kind of a little woozy because the blood loss and the burn. Which I was like, you only got like a little finger cut, but I guess like maybe it was a pretty deep cut, and also maybe blood loss runs a little quicker through a vampire than it would anyone else. So it was kind of a whole shamble of a situation, but it also showcases that Miharu is in perfect company because he's just as much of a klutz as literally everyone else. And so because of that, you know, Keigo's, no, sorry, not Keiko. Morihito's only takeaway was, for him, he was, you know, kind of worried and just wondering, like, how Miharu would adjust to being around everyone else. But it seems like he fits in just perfectly. So just kind of a, you know, klutzy, shenanigan-filled, you know, communal situation in the house that we've come to expect. You know, and now with just, once again, more people in the house, it's just going to get wilder and crazier. So just a lot of fun shenanigans, and especially in this first part. Now moving on to the second part of the episode, we have Miharu's parasol is gone. Because apparently Khan took it out and about, and he was talking to a guy. The guy was like, yo, can you give me directions and draw a map to it? He's like, but the moment I looked up, the guy was gone. Which I'm like, why would you take his parasol in the first place? I guess like maybe you just grabbed it because it was like the first thing you saw. You probably didn't think much of it, sadly. But it's like, oh no, I didn't lose it or whatever. It was, you know, but it's like, oh, this guy with the burglar mustache and the shades and this and that. And obviously, Miharu thinks Khan is lying because it's like, oh, that is the most fictitious. Like, you had to come up with the most roundabout lie. Like, come up with something at least more believable. So he has to go out and find a new parasol because it's like, right, I need it. It needs to fit my style because I'm not going to use something that's ugly, which Keigo and Morihito were like, we totally get it, dude. And so Nico cast a cloud above his head to kind of, you know, act to kind of shield him from the light. Because that was my question last episode. It's like, oh, can he be out and about in the sun? I mean, I figured, like, once again, we know that over generations, a lot of the familiars and stuff like that, they've changed in, like, over the years and lost certain qualities. So they can be out in sunlight without dying, but it's like basically direct sunlight for like 5 minutes. We don't know what that will do to them in the end. Maybe that will kill them, but even just being out and about in direct sunlight for a couple minutes at a time will just, you know, take its toll. Because, I mean, it was only for small, like, points in time, especially when he was fighting the warlock from last episode, that Miharu wasn't, like, using an umbrella, I mean, a parasol, like, directly, like, while he was out and about in sunlight, right? So, but either way, this cloud is special in the regards of basically Miharu has to stay in a terrible mood to utilize it. So he's walking down the street reading a book that's just supposed to put him in a bad mood. And it's like, as long as I keep this up, I can keep the cloud. Then a whole bunch of kids walk by like, oh my God, look at that person over there. They look so pretty. They've got a cloud above their head. And he's like, and he kind of gets heart-warmed by the children. So the cloud disappears. And what was the bits that he's saying? He's like, wait, focus on something bad. I can't remember if it was here or later when he's making the whole point of, he says, like, the person that was right next to me talked basically informally to the staff members. That's the depressed. But I guess, like, as a vampire, he's kind of got that very, posh isn't the right word, but he's all about kind of, like, that proper aesthetic and etiquette. So it kind of makes sense to some extent that he would, like, that would be his whole thing. And obviously focusing on Khan being the lying Tengu that he is type of situation. And some other things that he wanted to kind of drown in the negativity, but he's seeing a couple propose. Then, like, there's some comedic bits where a guy slips on a banana, some other stuff, and he's like, don't laugh. And then he walks over and there's like, hey, two comedians be like, hey, why don't you listen to us perform? It's like, oh my God, they're just trying to they're trying to kick away my clouds. He's like, we are the cloud, the cloud kickers and fog punchers. And it's like, it's literally in their name. And they proceed to tell some jokes, but the end result is, instead of like the cloud parting, it's snowing on top of Miharu. It's like, oh, luckily they're so bad that I don't have to worry about it. Like, I'm literally freezing just because of how terrible their jokes are. But it's real sad because like they kind of do self-deprecating humor and stuff like that, because they're like, oh yeah, like one guy kind of chastised us about like our looks and stuff like that. And you know, I thought it was interesting because Miharu is like, oh, I get it, like you took he's basically like, someone like that needs to be punched in the face. He's like, you guys took something you were born with and you turned it into a weapon. He's like, yeah, the fact, because he was cheering them on and be like, yo, you guys keep going, like, you know, you guys just keep up the good work. And like, oh, thanks for the praise. And you know, that ties into Miharu. It kind of coincides with the blessing and the curse that is being a vampire, and that's the whole thing of, he got the parasol from his dad, so it is important. He even says it's like the second most important thing to him because, well, for one, his dad gave it to him, but also the significance of, yo, it like keeps me from like getting like, you know, like the sun beating down on me. But it's also like, because of that, like he is different from other people, so it ostracizes him even more, makes him stand out even more. So that kind of adds to the isolation and the othering of being what he is in comparison to other people. But he ends up running into the parasol thief, and it's like, oh my god, Ken was right. And he's like, yo, do you have any proof that I'm the one who did that? But because of like, he had like this aha moment and came to some clarity, the cloud goes away and he's kind of out in the sun, and lo and behold, Khan shows up, summons up a whole bunch of black crows, or raven, probably most likely crows, to circle around him and be his shelter, sunblock, as he just takes down the thief. It's not anything like crazy actiony. It's just, I go over, touch him, and drain him, and then he passes out. So it's kind of like the situation ultimately led to Khan and him kind of, you know, being better in the aftermath of all this. But I love that it's just kind of like, oh, like we should probably both apologize at the end of on the count of three, you know, me for thinking you were a liar, but also like, yeah, me for like getting your parasol stolen in the first place. And then they're just kind of laughing like, 1, 2, you almost said sorry first and I didn't, haha. And I love as they're running away, we see the background with the guy just laying out there. I'm like, I love that we got no answer to that, because it's like, why did he steal it? I guess just to steal it, and it's just kind of a nothing burger. I'd love it if that guy made some reappearance later on in another episode, just for whatever reason. But it's just like, nah, that's just it. There's no answer to it. It's just kind of like, we're immediately moving on to the next part of the episode. So I just thought that was interesting. But once again, a little more insight into Miharu, but also kind of, you know, comedic situation that leads to some making of amends, as well as them getting a little closer, him and Khan. So that's just kind of a sweet silver lining to this whole shenanigan field thing. And then finally moving on to the third part of the episode, where we have Nemu stopping by the house, obviously kind of picking the perfect time. Well, she was like, no, I think she specifically asked to come over, and then luckily everyone else happens to be out of the house at the time, so it benefits her because she's got to do her monthly visit to make it so that Keigo turns into Wolf, and she doesn't know how to really go about it, so they're both in the house together alone, and it's kind of awkward because he's not very good at talking to girls, which she even kind of surmises, because she's like, oh, do you like check out curtains, or are you just not good at talking to girls, which he's not. Wolf, as we learned a couple episodes ago, is very good when it comes to the lady. Keigo, sadly, not. But Nemu is not very good at talking to boys either. So it's like, yeah, it's just super awkward. How do I need to put us in a situation where he can transform into Wolf. And she's like, all right, hey, let's go to your room. And then it's kind of like, cool. But now it's like, oh, I wonder if this is technically the first time she's ever been in a boy's room. I think so. Because she's just like, I kind of said something so drastically like that. And so, but they're both so quiet. Because Keigo's thinking to himself, wow, there's such a pretty girl. She wanted to come into my room. What do I say to her? I got to say something. And then he's like, hey, yo, like, when's the last time you looked at the sky? He's like, yeah, me yesterday. I was laying down on a bench and I was like staring up the sky the entire time. And she's like, oh my God, he's trying so hard to be cool. He's such a poser. It's like, so she's like, oh my God, this is like the most boring of boring conversations you could end up having, you know, talking about the sky and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, let's watch this movie, which has like a ridiculous title. What was it? It was like, the sky is limitlessly sky blue or something like that. and they watched the movie because there's a crescent scene in it. Because she was just like, sometimes she's like, with Keigo, she's like, I just want to like shove a crescent in his face, get him to transform so I can leave. But it's like, right, get him to watch this movie, which we know Keigo is a movie fan, so it is, unbeknownst to Nemu, that this is kind of like the perfect thing. I should have figured there was more to it when she was like, hurry up and eat the cake. I was like, what? Because she did say like the movie was only like the first arrow, so she had another arrow in her quiver, which is like, oh, like good on her for having that backup. Because I thought that was kind of a nice twist where it's like, oh yeah, like there's I guess the symbol for the place that she got the cakes from is a crescent moon. So, but either way, like she's looking at Keigo because like, right, he's gotten super quiet and super focused the moment the movie's going on, and she's just kind of like, oh man, this awkward silence and stuff like that. But then he asks out of nowhere, yo, like, you're a witch, you're from a prominent and elite family, what type of magic do you do? And because he's like, we haven't really seen it up until this time. And it's like, she's like, I do normal stuff, because she still doesn't want to let anyone know she can shapeshift, because if she does, then eventually they'll find out, hey, you're the cat that's always been here, and that can kind of turn into an awkward thing. It's got to be sooner or later that they find out the truth about her. But that did remind me, it's like, right, Wolf knows that that's her shtick, but once again, Wolf doesn't share. He shares Keigo's memories, but Keigo doesn't share his memories. So, but also she kind of got little into her family situation. That basically her mom is like this brilliant witch, but like her mom constantly compares Nemu to Nico, because it's like, oh, you're like not good enough, and she feels like she's kind of a failure in that regard. And sometimes she's like, I kind of sometimes wish I wasn't born in a witch family, because she's like, maybe I think a normal life would suit me a lot more. And then she's like, if I could have conversation with God, I'd have that talk. But then Keigo's like, okay, so let's say you do have that conversation, like, and if that happened, would you take that opportunity? And she's like, no. And he's like, I get it. He's like, I'm a werewolf myself, but he's also saying I would never like take away, like yes, I get pissed at Wolf, but I don't want to complain, because the fact of the matter is being a werewolf led me to meet all of you guys. So there's good and there's bad with things, but it's not kind of like, yeah, if you spend your entire time complaining about stuff, like you're never going to be able to stop. You're just always going to, so kind of, it's almost like, yeah, taking back, like, yeah, you can be annoyed about certain aspects, but you can kind of take power from the situation. And obviously that meant a lot to Nemu, because it's almost like, wow, you're actually cool when you're not trying to be cool. But yeah, he ends up transforming, and immediately Nemo's like, cool, I'm gonna leave. And he's like, actually, you should stay at the house while I go out and kind of run amok. She's like, if Morihito finds out about it, he's going to scold you. And he's like, or you could stay here with me. I saw you kind of having that fun conversation with Keigo. So like, and she kind of gets very bashful around Wolf because he's so assertive. I think that's probably going to be the ultimate irony behind it. Might be. We'll see how things play out. But like, most girls swoon over Wolf. Nemu might be the one girl that swoons more so from Keigo, because she doesn't do well with guys anyway, and she kind of got swooned up a little bit last time her and Wolf were alone. But I think it might be the inverse. But we might have funny enough, we might have an inverse of Rosario plus vampire, as I've mentioned previously, just the whole like dynamic, except like we have a gender swap situation if it kind of goes down that route. So. But luckily, everyone got back in time, and she rushes down to Nico, and Nico's like, Wolf, what did you do to her? He's like, I haven't done anything yet. And it's like, yet. And I love her being behind, like sticking out her tongue, being like, yeah, like I kept up my promise of transforming you. It's not my fault that you squandered this opportunity, and now they're basically not going to let you run amok. You're going to have no choice but to bend the knee here, So that transformation was probably extremely short-lived. They might have been able to kick it around the house as Wolf, but they weren't going to let you just be out and about. So, and then finally, the end of the episode, I believe it was the post-credit scene, was Morihito, just kind of it being this culmination of the entire episode, but like they kind of cap off like Miharu being a part of the house. And this ties into the third part of the episode. When Morihito was out, he was getting supplies so that he can make door plates for everybody. And I'm wondering why he has the numbers the way. You think like do it in the order everyone was like here just the room orders that everyone ended up picking, but and also like the little symbols representing what they are. It's really cute. It's meant to kind of put it all together to like kind of, I don't know, almost be like this housewarming gift of like, right, this is us all living together and kind of adding more, something a little more tactile to this living arrangement. So I thought that was just kind of a cute, nice button to the episode as a whole. So, but yeah, really, that's all I wanted to talk about. I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us going forward. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.